So the statement there is a true statement because the statement says from the book, if a floor is not to be sealed prior to finish application, burnish the surface just before finishing. This will give the finish a deeper shine. The second statement that is given in the paragraph is an additional. So yes, that'll give it a deeper shine. And if you want to really do a great job, between coats, do it. The one thing it doesn't say is if you burnish before coating, which is a great idea, make sure to tack the floor, dust mop that floor, like with a microfiber. I take a microfiber mop, get it damp, wring it out really good so it's just tacky, and run it over, just because now I've created dust from the pad itself. Now, there is an important point here, is it said if you are doing this with a floor that you've stripped down but you haven't removed the sealer, and that's kind of tricky. How do you know if you remove the sealer? As I was telling you guys from a practical standpoint, most of the stuff that we deal with now is a sealer finish. What happens is, even when you're stripping it, you still have something left in that floor that's down in the pores that isn't going to come out. That's fine. So when you buff it, what you're doing is you're smoothing out that floor a little bit. Because remember, burnishing tends to take a little bit of a layer off. So it's smoothing the floor. So from that standpoint, that's what gives that deeper shine, because now it's a smoother finish.
See, because not going through the process, just reading one, that's the thing that always confuses between the burnishing and the polishing. Burnishing and the polishing.
So polishing is only applied towards concrete. We use the term burnishing when it comes to resilient floors. We don't polish anything on resilient floors anymore. Okay? Because that term polishing had to do with the idea of it's working with a lower speed, and it's a little bit different of a process. I mean, technically, it's still just a pad turning and creating, friction on the floor. So, but just from a terminology standpoint, and I believe the background on the terminology of burnishing has to do with that we were literally abrading or burning the floor a little bit because of the high speed. And one of the things that happens is, and I'll show you guys this when we come over for our next class next weekend. I'll bring a high-speed floor pad so you guys can kind of understand this. That pad has some hair fibers in it. So those hair fibers create a little bit more friction. And what it does is it helps you abrade it a little bit more and get the floor smoother. And that's what you're looking for. You are looking for to get that floor as smooth as possible. So stripping it removes the coating, but burnishing it helps to get that floor smooth. And so what I see a lot of guys do, they will burnish it with a high-speed pad before laying finish, but then after they lay finish, they will only use a white pad. And the reason they do that is they don't want to be too aggressive. The finish is still fairly soft and still curing. So a white pad does enough of a job. We do consider that a polishing pad. Okay, but because of the speed we're running at, it's considered burnishing.
Gotcha. So it's the speed that dictates it. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
We really don't use low speed, even though the book talks about it, because this book uses some older technologies too. We don't use that really anymore. It's just too slow of a process to use a low speed buffer to buff a floor out.
Well, thank you for that info.
You're welcome. Stephen, how are you? I don't know if I said hi when you came in.
Fine. How are
you doing today?
Very well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Don, good morning. And Tyler, nice to see you all. I'm going to close this door for a minute. even all the other teachers are out in classrooms, just in case those people are coming in and out of the building. There was a few things on that test that I didn't like the way they word their questions, that I felt like was a little ambiguous. It was a little
There's
frustrating.
comes to a point to where teaching you the way they word these things, even the last test, to where it's trying to trick you.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't.
Right.
It's not my style of testing. I get it. Open book allows you to do that, and whoever wrote this test, they did it from the standpoint of an industry person, not as an instructor. So, because for example, question number 44, I did not like that question. The most important or most critical factor associated with sealing of concrete. It didn't really specifically say that there was one most important, but it definitely was none of those.
It was none of the above.
That's what I saw.
I want to be, because what I did, it's on page 43, right?
Yes.
And
What I got was bonding. Yes.
So did I.
I did too. I kept on reading over and over. I said, something is, they take you to the next one. I says, nah, something's not clicking. Let me take my time reading it.
Yeah, page 43, Dave, right side.
Yeah,
bottom
that's what I'm looking at.
Preparation. So success was concrete ceiling. So
Where did you see it at?
page 43, the right side where it says preparation for sealing. Creating the right bonding condition is the key to success with concrete sealing project. What is the most critical associated with sealing concrete? Bonding. That's the only two I could put together.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was one sentence on there, and I missed
Right.
that. Good job. Because in all honesty, that was I was looking through this, and the other thing, and I'm going to mention it to them, is the way they lay out their book. Things are repeated multiple times in different ways. So, for example, terrazzo is spread out over multiple sections. So you really have to read all those, and then you had to look at the glossary on a couple things.
I did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think terrazzo was one of the. I think terrazzo was one of the questions where you said it was kind of repeated through itself.
Yeah.
Like you said, I can't remember which one of the questions that was on there.
Well, film clarity, by the way, the only true answer to it was in the glossary.
In the glossary.
Yep, if you look up in the glossary there, under film clarity, it is exactly that answer.
Page.
Get everybody checked in real quick here. Oh, we got everybody today. All right. So everybody having fun with their testing so far?
No.
A little bit more challenging, huh?
Extremely stressed out about it. I want to say it's worse than algebra, because at least algebra, I got like chances to like redo some of the questions.
Well, I will say this, that the suggestion I have for you guys, don't submit your testing until you've done where you did the paper version. If you have questions, that's where, you know, we'll go over it, and I'll make sure you guys all understand it. In all honesty, I don't have the answer key. They don't give me the answer key. So I had to go through test, review it again. I had already taken this a year and a half ago, but it's been a year and a half. So I went through and I made notes as to which page certain answers were on, because I wanted to be able to make sure I had it correctly. So, and you guys are helpful too, because you can miss one sentence like we just were talking about on the question regarding
Concrete bonding. The bonding.
bonding. Yeah, the concrete bonding. So Maria, you and I were talking about the concrete bonding, question number 44.
Yes.
Mark helped us with that one, so you owe Mark a thank you.
Mark is bonding.
That was group effort. That was Steve and Nelson as well.
On page 43, under the subheading preparation for sealing, on the right side, the first sentence answers the question.
So it is bonding.
It's bonding, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So good job. Okay, well, as I mentioned, we'll take some time at the end of class today and pretty much every day from now on to do some of those, some reviews. So if anybody is needing assistance with their testing, stick around at the end of the class. I will help you answer questions. As I've mentioned before, I won't answer it, but I will definitely review it. We'll talk it out and make sure you guys understand it. So, all right. So today we move into carpet cleaning. So first, let me start a recording, and we'll record this on carpet cleaning.
Recording in progress.
So today we'll move into carpet cleaning, and we will be discussing a lot about carpet cleaning. This lesson we're going to discuss a little bit about how carpet is made. So there's a lot of video content today. We'll get into the different methods of carpet cleaning. Today we'll go through those. Then as we move forward, just like within the basic course, it's going to be you guys looking at what is the equipment, materials, supplies you would use, and then the processes. But you have a lot of different processes to learn. There's a lot of this that I want you guys to learn for your testing, and the new test module 2 in your testing is, I'm making sure it is now available for you guys. So let me do one thing real quick to make sure that that is. So that'll be available to you guys in about 30 minutes, where you guys will be able to use that as your study guide for carpet cleaning. This lesson goes beyond what we did in basic. In basic cleaning of carpet, we talked about how to maintain it, which focused in on entrance mats, proper vacuuming, and then carpet spotting. Now we'll go into more of what we would call interim and restorative maintenance. There's a lot of tools. I have posted a lot of additional tools in carpet cleaning for you in our Google Classroom, including outside sources. One interesting thing that ISSA states regarding carpet cleaning, because carpet cleaning is, you're dealing with a textile, there are other training and certifications that go even more in depth than what we will in this course. This has become, within the cleaning industry, just like polishing of concrete has become a specialized trade, so has carpet cleaning. So within your roles as janitors and custodians, you guys will likely do a lot of carpet cleaning, but there are guys who've become experts at it. They're using truck-mounted carpet cleaning machines. They're getting into a lot more details, including doing with floods, so how to deal with remediation in those cases, mold issues, a lot of detail that they get into. Those certifications or training are provided by a variety of agencies, but one of the most established is the IICRC. So when you get a chance, I would encourage you to look at that and see, more information about who they are. Again, it's not something that you need to do right away, but it's just knowing that there's training that is above and beyond what we cover in this, that gets into a lot about how the carpet is made, where you actually go in and do testing. You'll do burn tests and so forth. So, all right, let's start with just kind of understanding what we're dealing with material here and understanding how carpet's made. One of the things we talk about is the fact that there's basically a couple different types of material or yarn that make up carpet. Most of what we see in the commercial application, the gross majority, over 99%, is made out of man-made fibers, things like nylon, olefin, or other man-made fibers. Whereas things like area rugs and higher end quality rugs are made out of more of natural fibers, such as cotton or wool. So you will see those type of rugs have more vibrant colors. They do a lot more interesting designs to them. They're far more expensive, but also they're also a lot more difficult to clean. So you have to be very careful. We will not focus on cleaning of natural fibers because, frankly, you likely will never have to do that. So if you do, that's where the additional training is involved through IICRC. So let's get into, I want to just jump right into how carpet's made, and then we will move from there. So give me a second here to get that video up for us. All right.
Our most expensive.
So pretty cool process of how carpet's made. Interestingly enough, most carpet in the United States is made in Georgia. Any idea why it's made in Georgia?
Lower overhead?
No, that seems like it'd be a good idea. It
Climate?
goes back to a old tradition. What was grown in the South for years?
Cotton.
Cotton. Yep. So a long time ago, over 100 years ago, as cotton farming was at its height, a lot of the carpet mills were developed because a lot of the area rugs were made from cotton. So a lot of the yarn and everything else was made and manufactured there in Georgia. Those same companies have stayed there, but they no longer use cotton. They're using these natural fibers such as nylon to be able to do that. So a couple of interesting things that was shown that was important on the end. You noticed how to dye the carpet, they would put it through a bath and soak it for 4 hours. This bath treatment, one of the things that they do is they use a method so that in the process, and I'll refer to our book on this one to explain it a little bit better, because it explains what we call setting of the dyes, okay, in stain-resistant carpet. This is found on page 64. Is the basic chemistry of stain resistance is fairly straightforward. While the carpet yarn is being made, each fiber is coated with an acid dye-resistant substance. Electrical attraction draws the substance into each fiber's dye sites, leaving no place for staining molecules to gain a foothold. Both the dye-resistant substance and the staining molecules are negatively charged, so they both repel each other. So it's a chemical reaction that occurs. It's something that's done to the yarn. So one of the great things about that is some of the newer carpets that are made from nylon don't typically stain. The only real major problem that occurs with these carpets is oils and greases. So that it's not so much staining the carpet, it is coating the carpet. Because you got to remember, what is nylon? It's a man-made fiber, and it's made from petroleum products. So guess what happens? They love each other. So when you get oils and greases on a nylon, it is very hard to remove. In fact, in this lesson, one of the interesting facts that's made is about carpet cleaning, and it talks about the fact that in carpet cleaning, what's the easiest thing for us to get out of carpet? What do you guys think?
Water.
Okay, that's not a bad one, Tyler.
Odor.
Okay, think about two types of soil. What are
Dirt.
they?
Dirt.
Yeah, dirt. And we get dirt out of a carpet by doing what?
Sucking it up.
Vacuum it up, right? So if we're vacuuming regularly, we're going to get it out. On page 63, it makes a point, types of carpet soil, and it refers to the dry soil and the oily soil. 85 to 95% of soil that's in a carpet is dry soil. Yet the challenge of cleaning it is incredibly small. It's fairly easy to get dry soil out. But that oily soil, even though it just makes up a small percentage of it, most of our time and energy is spent removing that, because oils and greasy soils love man-made fibers. So we have that fight. It's not the staining anymore. We used to fight that a lot. Stains are fairly easy if we deal with them and realize that they can be removed. Majority of those can be. So from the standpoint of when we're looking at the, give me a second here, guys. When we're looking at how carpet's made, carpet is made for us to be able to make it durable. The other thing I'd point out is on page 62 of your book, and in the video, it showed how the carpet is put into the backing with those needles. It's sewing it into it. You'll notice that there's two different types of piles shown in our book. One is a pile made of individual tufts, and they're looped. The other is a pile that is cut on the top. That cut pile is typically found in residential carpet. Now, you saw in the video, what they did is they put that yarn in there and they sewed it in, and then they trimmed it. And so you could see that as it was going through the machine, it was shaving off just the tips of the loop, and that would give it that nice tuft. That's what gives the softness of a residential carpet. If you go and you see a residential carpet that's, you know, a good 5/8 inch thick carpet where it's just nice and plush and a lot of yarn that's tufted in a very tight area, okay, that's what makes it more expensive. But in a commercial setting, that's not really the best idea, because the reality is that that looped pile, it doesn't crush down nearly as easily. So it makes it a lot easier for us for durability. However, it's also a lot of area where soil can get trapped inside of it. So just a few things. If you look on page 63 on the right-hand side of the page, it shows the soiling process, how that most of the soil is on the top third of the pile. It's held right up there. If we're properly vacuuming and we have a good entrance mat system, we can deal with most of that soil in that top third. However, it's when that soil gets driven down further towards the backing, and that's because we're not vacuuming like we should. We don't probably have good entrance mats. Now that soil builds up, and we can get to the point where in the soiling process, we lose control. And it talks about a point of equilibrium. It's that point where on one side, if you think about a seesaw, right, that balance that we have, as long as we have control, we're in good shape. But when it swings to the point where we've got more soil and we're fighting against it, now we're losing the battle. And that's what happens. Carpets will ugly out because of soil overload. So our job is to maintain that. And we'll talk about how we do that through a number of methods. Now, I want to show you one other quick video, and it simply refers to the installation of carpet. You guys will never install carpet. I don't need you to learn how to install carpet. But I want you to understand how commercial carpet is installed because of the fact that it's important to know how that is held to the floor. It helps us to understand how important that adhesion is to the floor and where we have to be careful of over-wetting, as I mentioned regarding the school over there on Gerber. So let me share that video with you.
Hi there. Today we're going to be ripping up a
guys
commercial
see that?
carpet and installing a new commercial carpet. Okay, one thing I want to tell you is when you do code base on the walls, when you rip up the old code base, you never want to rip up, you always want to rip down so you don't mess up the walls. Usually get it started and pull it down like that. All right, we'll be back in a minute with ripping up the carpet.
All right, we're going to jump
Okay,
past there,
so that's gonna have to
removing
come
the
off too.
carpet, because I want you guys to see
Still cut it in
a
strips.
little bit of the prep.
Rip it up like that.
Okay.
Grab the carpet.
Once the floor is clean, they've removed all the mastic off of it, they're going to cut the carpet and put it into place. And so this will kind of show you what we're talking about.
Real good. Get the last bit up. About a 16-foot piece.
There we go.
All right, we'll cut this piece and we'll bring it in the room. Okay, we laid our carpet out in the room. We got a net on this wall over here, and we're gonna have to put a fill piece down this wall. What we did was we used a row cutter, and we cut a row in this carpet. It's a level loop and it's got rows. And
The reason why somebody would have to do that is in the case of a roll of carpet, it is only 12 inches or 12 feet wide. So if the room is wider than that 12 feet, they have to do a fill strip. Okay, and when they do that fill strip, they'll typically put it on the far side of the room because they're going to need to seam it together so it looks like there's just one piece of carpet there.
we cut our fill. Folded back the carpet in an airplane style, folded in the corners, and folded it back. Now I'm getting ready to glue the floor. All right, we'll get this side glued, and then we'll be back. Okay, we got this half glued. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our carpet. Kind of walk it out so we keep any bubbles out of it, wrinkles.
So with most commercial glue down carpet, the carpet is applied when the glue is still a little bit workable.
Got any wrinkles? Yes. It's pretty flat. Really sticking really good. Push down on the edge right here. Okay. Use our carpet seam sealer. We're gonna run a bead.
And this is what will bind that seam together so that it forms one big piece of carpet.
Take our fill piece. Have our seam roller. Piece in place like that. Get our seam sealer. Pull it together like this. And then take our knife and
All right.
just cut it in.
So that kind of gives you the idea of how a commercial carpet is installed. It is directly glued down to the carpet. The reason I wanted you guys to see that is because if we are using the wrong products, we can affect that glue. That glue is a latex. It's a water-based latex material. If we use too aggressive of a solvent, okay, for example, if we're removing gum, for example, we can attack that glue underneath it and cause the carpet to come loose from the floor. Now, in the case of that particular carpet, the backing was a rubber backing, and that's a more expensive, newer style commercial carpeting that has that rubber backing. The great thing about the rubber backing is they have a lot less issues with the carpet itself having delamination issues. Plus, it is more resistant to spills, for example, of water or flooding damage. It doesn't tend to penetrate through. Whereas the backing you saw that is more traditional, that we saw in the mill where they were making it, that was a fiber backing, and that backing itself is more likely for glue to get back in there. Don't assume that the floor or the carpets are made from a rubber backing. We just have to assume that there's the traditional manufacturing and that we have to be careful with the solvents that we use. And remember, we use solvents in dealing with adhesive removal, so of gum especially. So just be aware of that. Plus, in the case of if that floor was instead of concrete, if it was wood that we were gluing directly down on, if we start to use a lot of water, it can cause it to go through that and break down the glue in the bond between the wood and the carpet and cause the floor itself to buckle. So just be aware of those things. We don't want to over wet the carpet. So that helps us as we start to look at the different types of methods of cleaning a carpet. And that's what we'll move to next, is the understanding a little bit about how carpet's made and how soiling occurs. Then you start to put together a plan of how you're going to maintain it. And the first and most important method, since majority of our soil is dry soil, is good entrance mats and good vacuuming process. But in the advanced course, you guys are going to learn how to maintain it beyond that. Nelson, your question.
With the you have mentioned with the rubbing backing of the carpet, don't there when you spill something on the carpet, will it hold moist?
It will sit a little bit more. It's not going to penetrate through. Yeah.
Compared to the regular carpet.
Correct. Now, up front, those rubber-backed carpets are a lot more expensive They're only going to be used in some high-end applications. You may see them used more in medical than you do in schools, because schools are dealing with some very tight budgets. So, Tony, go ahead.
Because of how thin that was, I guess that, I mean, depending on what their budget was and so forth, like you're saying, avoids too much water saturating through that. Didn't look like there was much of a pile there. But that'd be more manual cleaning, just vacuum in and spot cleaning?
We still have to clean the fiber, and commercial carpet has a much shorter pile than residential.
Okay.
A residential pile is typically half an inch or longer because we want that plush feeling. For a commercial carpet, it is not that. It's usually going to be less than a quarter of an inch.
Okay.
It's a much shorter, tighter pile. And part of that is also, we don't replace commercial carpet as often as we do residential. A residential carpet in a home is replaced roughly every 8 to 10 years. A carpet in a building may be 15, maybe 20 years. So they have to be a little bit more durable. And so from that standpoint, having a shorter pile that is a looped pile, we have a lot less crushing issue. So we're not trying to lift the pile nearly as much. And from that standpoint, it's also a lot easier to get more of that sand and stuff out of it. But as far as how soil will build up on it, it's still going to build up on there just as much. So, all right. That moves to the idea of what are the different methods of carpet cleaning. Right now, all I'm doing is give you an overview. We'll spend the next pretty much hour going through this overview. I'll just tell you a little bit about these methods, but then I will come back to the idea of we will now take it from here as we go into our next class, getting more detailed. How does this process work? So over the next week, we'll get into how do we do it. I will tell you up front, we are going to focus our attention on some basic methods. We're going to focus attention on encapsulation cleaning, bonnet cleaning, and extraction cleaning. So let's get into it so I can show you what I'm talking about. The first video from John Don, and by the way, John Don is one of the best suppliers of products for the carpet industry, for as far as carpet restoration business. These guys are nationwide and they do an amazing job of selling products for that industry. So that being said, let's share a video from their trainer. And this is about the vacuum cleaners as we start with the first step in soil removal.
Hi, now we're going to talk about our first principle, which is actually vacuuming. At this point, I find that vacuuming is the most underused, overlooked principle that we have. But we're actually talking about something that's going to remove 80% of the soil that you're trying to take out of that carpet. Very critical. Let's talk about what type of equipment we'd like to use here. In vacuums, we really prefer a commercial upright vacuum. And in this brushing system, what we want is to make sure, are the brushes working properly? Or is it something where we haven't checked those brushes in a while and they're really not doing their job anymore? So let me put this over here for a second and then we'll come back to that particular area. What I'm going to do now is show you a simple little technique that you can use to actually check the brushes to make sure that they're still effective. Take any old charge card out, and what you're actually going to do is take the charge card and run it across the frame of the vacuum here. As you're doing that, the card should be hitting the brush. If you're going across here and it's not hitting the brush, that means the brushes are not hitting the carpet and they're really not doing you any good. So I mean, that's very important on that aspect of it. The second thing that we're going to look for is the bag itself. The bag should not be full. In other words, once it's gotten up to that 3/4 full, you basically are not getting any extraction through the vacuum itself, which means you're not going to get any type of airflow as we're going through there. So it's important then to make sure two things. One is that the brush is working properly. Two is that your bag is not being overfilled and really not working effectively at all. Next thing we're actually going to do here is to actually show you the process of vacuuming. I know you think it should be simple, you vacuum at home and that, but there still is a science to vacuuming. Remember now, this is not a race, so my forward pass is going to be relatively quickly. My return pass is where I'm doing all the soil removal. Slow, deliberate passes. That's the simplest part of vacuuming, the most important part, but just remember, slow, deliberate passes.
Pretty simple process there, but important for us to be aware of is how important vacuuming is. So let's go through some of the different methods of carpet cleaning. And one of the first ones I'm going to show you is an older method. We don't really use it anymore. But it is used for doing more deep cleaning.
Hi, this is Moshe Lawson.
I'm going to mute a lot of these guys because I don't need them to be selling their stuff. This is a residential carpet, and they are going to demonstrate, and it was hard to find this video because there's not a lot of guys who do this, but as you can see, it's a pretty damaged, dirty carpet. They're going to use what is referred to as a shampoo method. And what happens is utilizing a machine, a swing buffer with a tank, he is going to scrub the carpet with a cleaning solution. And as he does it, and as you can see, he's scrubbing it, that tank there has carpet shampoo. And what this does is it helps the dirt to encapsulate into or get attracted into that soap or shampoo, much like shampooing your hair. So they're scrubbing it really aggressively, creating a shampoo, and there's one of two methods that can be used. One is to rinse this with an extractor, or for years they would even just vacuum this out. Now, vacuuming it leaves a lot of residue behind. So the best method is to rinse it, but as you can imagine, it's a very wet method on a lot of soil or soap and residue. See all that shampoo that's sitting there in the carpet? But they basically go through, scrub everything. Now there is a real value to scrubbing the carpet because agitation helps. We talked a lot about 4 key elements when it comes to cleaning of floors. It was time, agitation, chemical concentration, and then temperature. This is that agitation step. So notice all the soap that's left there on the floor, on the carpet. Now watch what they'll do to remove that. So let's jump ahead a little bit. And he's going to go through and scrub everything with this method. And they're going over it multiple times because that was a very dirty carpet. Now, right here, he's switched over to a machine. This machine is an extractor tool. So on the bottom is a vacuum head that's spinning around. And that spinning head tool has water fed down into it so that it's rinsing the carpet as well. So he's removing a lot of that foam and rinsing the carpet and vacuuming it out at the same time. Now, I will tell you, my experience has been on a really nasty residential carpet, this works pretty well to get the carpet cleaned up, because what happens is the soil, that oily, sticky soil, is now brought to the surface. The problem with it is it leaves the carpet very wet. And one step that you would want to do after you're done with this method is to rake the carpet so that the pile itself is set up. Otherwise, you look at it and it's kind of all got a lot of swirls and stuff like that in there. I wouldn't leave the carpet like that. All right. Any questions about that method? It kind of interesting, different way of cleaning carpet, huh? Anybody ever seen that done?
Me.
Christina, have you? Was that in a school or where'd you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's not a real popular method. It does work, but you run into some issues, and some of those issues involve, leaving lots of residue, it resoiling quickly, just affecting several things. Mark, your question.
You mentioned raking the carpet. Is that would you recommend that only on that process or on the other processes?
In a residential that's a cut pile, it's a great idea. I actually think it's a good process with any residential carpet after it's cleaned to rake it. On a commercial carpet, it doesn't do anything because it doesn't have the residential, because they cut the pile itself. Now it has a tendency to lay over. And so by raking it, we're lifting it back to setting where the pile itself is standing straight up.
Now that tool raking, looks like a rake, I assume?
It looks similar to a rake. It's basically a tool that's about 18 inches wide. It's just got some nylon teeth to it that are about maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. They're not aggressive. It's not going to damage the carpet. They're called a carpet rake. And that's what they do. They're great for that kind of application. So it's an interesting method. Like I said, it's not something that's real popular. When I worked at Surtec, the owner of their business loved this method. He was old school guy. And Bill felt like this was the way to go. But as you can imagine, you saw them going over it with swing buffer with the shampoo tank. Then they got to go over it again. You got to put a lot of air dryers on it to get that carpet dry. It's labor intensive. And if you don't rinse that carpet out really well, it's going to resoil very quickly. So from that standpoint, it's become a very out-of-date cleaning process in carpet cleaning. Now, over the years, what we found is that method of shampooing is more restorative, deep cleaning. I'm going to show you the next restorative one, but first I'll let Nelson, you ask your question, then we'll move on.
For a residential, the professional carpet cleaner come to the house and they use the wand.
I'm going to show that to you.
All right.
Yep. So let's talk about terminology for a minute. That method that I just showed you is called shampooing of carpet. Now, we use a lot of terms interchangeably. We need to make sure we understand terminology very correctly. Shampooing a carpet is using a shampoo, a rotary shampoo with a nylon brush on a swing buffer with the shampoo tank. That is shampooing of the carpet. Extraction is different, and that's the next restorative method I'll show you. We also use a term called steam cleaning, We want to stop, as professionals, let's make sure we use the right term. Steam cleaning is not used for carpet. We don't steam clean carpet. We extract it. The reason being, steam cleaning refers to use of a vapor steam machine that creates a vapor, and we don't use that on carpet. We use it on porous surfaces like grout and in restrooms. So from that standpoint, let's make sure we're using the right terminology. We are extracting or shampooing, depending on the method that we use. So that's where this next system comes in. And it's exactly what you're talking about, Nelson, and that is the use of a wand. Now, by the way, the tool that you saw, just the last step of that guy's process, was a method that is used also as part of extraction. Instead of the wand, they have a rotary tool that the head spins. It has little vacuum shoes on the bottom and a spray jet that is spraying water, rinsing the carpet, and it's turning. The reason why that's a little bit more popular on residential is it leaves less residue and vacuums a little bit better. So, but let me show you this other method. This is the extraction method. So here the cleaning professional is using a wand, and if you notice, as he's pulling it, it looks like steam coming out. That's where the misconception of steam cleaning comes in.
Showing that to us, or
What's that?
showing the picture to us, or you just talking about it?
Oh, sorry. You know what? I thought I was, and I hit share, and I didn't share that one. All right, let's do it again. All right. So you'll see that he's got a wand. The wand is attached to a carpet cleaning machine. And notice as he pulls back, it looks like steam coming out, right? And it is. It's hot water. But let me clarify why it's not called steam cleaning. The temperature of the water hitting the floor is right around 190 degrees. Steam is anything that is above boiling temperature. It's the vapor that is caused when we boil water under pressure. So steam is over 212 degrees. Therefore, this is not steam cleaning. It is extraction. It is spraying down solution and vacuuming it up. That's the concept. It's very much restorative, and he's sucking a lot out there. The other factor that plays into this that helps to create that almost fine mist is the pressure that this machine is putting out. If you remember, the measurement that we use when we're talking about pressure, like in pressure washing, is PSI, pounds per square inch. This runs at a PSI of 400 PSI. In comparison, a pressure washer would run anywhere from 250 PSI all the way up to well over 1200. So this is not quite a heavy pressure like on a pressure washer, but it is coming out pretty hot. And from that standpoint, the idea behind extraction carpet cleaning, the value to it, if we can get the water temperature high enough, right? And 190 degrees is great because it'll dry much faster. It also leaves a lot less residue behind. It is rinsing the carpet. Most of the carpet manufacturers recommend this method because they want to see that whatever you're putting down, you're rinsing out. Now, I will say this, it is good for removing of soils from the standpoint of heat helps to break down grease and oils. However, if you have really bad areas, pre-treat those areas. Use a little bit of a spotter or something to pre-treat those areas to deal with those first, and then extract or rinse. Now, this same method has been moved into where we're using what's called a box extractor. And what that gentleman was using was hooked up to a truck. So we've all seen the vans that come out. They have the machine in the van. Elk Grove currently has their own unit that comes out, and they've got a carpet extractor put into, is it on a trailer or in a van?
A van.
Van, okay. Yep. So from that standpoint, come out, it's got, usually they can run 150, even up to 200 feet of hoses that can be run with that machine. The machine itself has a really cool technology where it's called a heat exchange system. The heat that's generated from the gas engine is run through a coil system. It takes a lot of that pressure and heat and heats the water. And as a result, we can get temperatures over 200 degrees. They can go almost up to 210 degrees in that through that heat exchange system. But by the time it reaches the carpet, because it's running a long length of hose, we're losing a little bit of that. It's typically hitting the carpet at about 190 degrees, which is still extremely hot. That'll burn you. So you want to be cautious as you're dealing with it. You don't want to, spray yourself, which why would you? But just from that standpoint. So it's really good for rinsing out of carpets, and when the carpet has gotten heavily soiled, it's great. But the alternative in extraction cleaning is what we call self-contained units. It's like the rug doctor unit. And as you can imagine, that doesn't have the ability to generate heat. They typically don't run the same pressure. They're running pressure around 100 PSI. They're good for small restoration. You would use those more on spills, things along those lines. But from the standpoint of them as a cleaning unit, they're a very cheap alternative. So I'm not a big fan of those systems. And again, we'll come back and explore those deeper. Both of those first two systems I showed you, the extraction and shampoo, are restorative. Now, in between, there's what we now call interim maintenance, okay, in between, that we can do more frequently. I'm going to show you 3 different methods. Our book talks about these, and it refers to these 3 different methods of carpet cleaning. So those would be wet or bonnet cleaning, dry encapsulation or dry powder system, and then encapsulation. So let's start with bonnet cleaning. It's one of the older methods. It basically took the idea from shampooing and changed it a little bit, because we started to use this pad that we would put on the carpet called a carpet bonnet. And what happens is we'll spray the carpet, we'll put a bonnet on there and run it over. Just take a look. Let me show you that video. So first, they're going to pre-spray. This is in a classroom with a commercial carpet, so they're pre-spraying the area. There is another method where they actually, instead of pre-spraying the carpet, they'll actually just soak the bonnet into a mop bucket. So there's a couple different ways that this is done. And they're using a particular detergent that's designed to leave a lot less residue than shampoo does. It's also not nearly as wet of a method as shampooing or extraction. We use a lot less moisture. They're just putting a light mist on there. And we'll jump ahead. He's going to spray the whole carpet. I don't need for you guys to see every bit of it.
We see Zoom, but nothing else.
Oh, it's not showing the video? It's
We
showing
see your desktop. We see your desktop, your icons and whatnot.
Yeah, hang on a second.
I was trying to look.
It was just me. I was like, I don't see anything.
Yeah, every once in a while. I'm not using my computer, so apologize here.
I would say you make a good storyteller.
All right. Are you guys seeing it now? Yes, no?
It's paused.
It's paused. Good. Okay. So you'll see a guy with the pump sprayer. He's spraying the carpet down. Everybody seeing that? Okay. So let me jump ahead a little bit. The idea was that he would spray the entire carpet, and you notice the floor machine, the swing buffer, with this pad underneath it. The pad is called a carpet bonnet. And as you notice, he's just going to go over the carpet, and he's basically buffing the carpet with this pad. The concept is that as he's doing it, the soil that where he's sprayed the detergent on is now kind of broken free from the fiber, and it's going to transfer onto this bonnet. The reality is what happens is we get some soil transfer and the rest is evened out over the floor. So from the standpoint of cleaning, it doesn't remove all the soil. It removes some of it. What is left is evened out, so it is evenly dirty. But it does work to help break some of that soil down. And from that standpoint, it does some things. It's not the best method, but it does have a value. Now, when we start talking about encapsulation cleaning in a minute, there have been methods where they will use a chemical that the residue that's left behind, when we vacuum it, the rest of the soil comes out. So it has taken some advances. One of the big problems with this method is we are taking a piece of nylon and agitating the carpet with that. And the carpet mills have gotten to the point, they're not a big fan of this, especially on residential carpets, because what was basically affecting the twist to the carpet. It was causing the carpet fibers to lose where they hold together because of the way this is agitating it. So both this and shampooing are not really popular with the mills. In fact, a lot of carpet mills will void the warranty if you use shampooing or dry or bonnet cleaning on the carpet because of that. Not so much on the commercial side, but on the residential side for sure. So that's the basic method. Anybody use this method?
I have, but we use towels.
You use a towel?
Yeah, we use white towels instead so we can change them more frequent.
Okay. Not heard of that, but I also know your boss, so.
Yeah, I've used that method as well too.
Okay.
We use the orange pad too.
Okay. So one of the things I will tell you, a lot of guys get creative when it comes to things in carpet. I've seen guys use red pads, and there may be some variations where you're using towel. I'm not a big fan of changing too much from the standards. I will show you after we're done, we'll talk a little bit about the materials, but frankly, that's the method. Okay, so you guys learn the standard method. If your company or your school or organization is using a variation, there are stuff. There's carpet mills that have come out, and not carpet mills, carpet manufacturers who've developed different tools and different machines that do a variety of these variations on this. So, but that's the basic concept, is taking a pad that's designed for it, agitating the carpet, and then when it's done, You're done. You walk away from it. Mark.
Would that pad be switched out or flipped over?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, every 100 square feet, you would flip it over. And then after you've used both sides, then you switch it out for a clean pad. So if you use it more than that, you're going to get a soil load that's built up, and now you're just spreading dirt more. So absolutely, it's a good idea. So most of the time, when people are using bonnet cleaning, they will have multiple bonnets for the job. The good thing is the cost to doing this is very low. It's very fast process. The other value to it is that the carpet itself is dry fairly quickly. It can be done, one evening, and the next morning, even within a few hours, people are using the carpets, using that room. So not a bad method. Again, it's losing popularity. And the reason being is of this method. So I'll share with you this one. And again, this is from John Don. So give me a second to share that feed. And he's going to explain something called encapsulation now. He's going to share with you a different machine. Now, the concept of encapsulation that is a chemical concept. And from that standpoint, what it does, just our last lesson, we talked about polymers, right? Encapsulation uses an acrylic polymer similar to floor finish, but it's a much smaller polymer added into the detergent. And so what happens is that polymer will attach itself to the nylon fiber as it dries. And then as it dries, because it's such a hard polymer, okay, remember acrylics are pretty hard and brittle, as it dries and you're vacuuming the carpet, that polymer will break free and be vacuumed off. But what's really cool is any soil that gets stuck in the polymer is also vacuumed. So it eliminated a couple big problems that were happening in the carpet cleaning business. When we deal with extraction method, you saw with the wand as they're spraying, if you imagine carpet is a three-dimensional surface, right? So as we're spraying water down it, the soil that's up here on the top third gets flushed down the fiber. Now, if we have good vacuum, we vacuum that out and it releases. But a lot of times, if we don't agitate it and help it to break free, give it a little bit of help, and we just use an extractor or we use a cheap extractor, soil just goes up and down the fiber. And we call that wicking, because as the soil comes back and sticks to the top third, it's like the carpet looks good when you're done, and you come back a day or two later, and it looks like you never even did anything because of a process called wicking. What encapsulation does is, because it coats the fiber, when we remove that and it vacuums, that soil that was up at the top third of the fiber is vacuumed off. So there's a value to encapsulation. So, all right, let me share with you this. I want to make sure before we start the video, you guys are seeing this with the gentleman standing here with the machine, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Nelson. All right.
On a machine that is going to make your life easy. This is going to be the Chem ProCaps machine. Now, ProCaps is kind of short for encapsulation cleaning. So this machine was designed initially as an encapsulation system to be used in the commercial maintenance market. But there's so much more to this machine that I think even if you're just doing residential cleaning every day of your life, this is going to make it a lot simpler. Let me explain a little bit about the machine, okay, and at the same time talk to you about the product that we would use if we were doing encapsulation. This is Matrix DSE, which stands for Double Strength Encapsulant. What that means is that you are going to use this in the tank itself or in a sprayer. Either way, your choice. You've got 4 ounces per gallon. That means that this product will make 33 diluted gallons, and you're going to get probably 300 square feet out of each gallon, meaning that somewhere, depending on the amount that you use, how soiled the carpet is, you should get somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 square feet. You break that down into cost and you're talking about tenths of a penny. So very economical for you. Now, let's look at the machine itself. As I'm going to turn this on the side here, a couple things you're going to notice here is that you have the brushes. These are counter rotating brushes, which does a tremendous job of pile lifting, and that's why we're going to talk about how it works in the residential market. A couple other things I want to show you though is that this small area here pulls out. This picks up a lot of sand, grit here. It's not a vacuum, but it actually does collect a lot of that, so you can pull that out after each job and just rinse it out, pop it back in. The brushes themselves are going to come out very simply by pressing the lever here and just pulling out those brushes so you can clean those off also. You would be shocked at how soiled and how much stuff this will pick up. One other thing that you'll notice here is going to be the actual T-jet itself, that when I press the button up here on top, this is going to spray out, so I don't need to use a sprayer if I don't want to. When you're ready to use the machine, you're going to just step on the back lever right here, and I'm going to drop that back down. I go into a residential job. I'm going to put down my Matrix Grand Slam in my traffic area. Then I'm going to bring out the machine, run through the traffic areas. It's just going to take me a couple minutes, and what I've got now is agitation of my pre-spray. You will be shocked at how simple it is to extract after you've done that, because for so long we've been using hot water extraction and we're really kind of weak on the agitation side. So that means it makes a world of difference. The other thing that you're going to do is, if I want to do encapsulation, the only difference is I'm going to press the button. At the same time, I'm going to spray that comes out in the middle of the T-jet there, and then I'm going to go over that area. So either way that you use this machine, whether you're using it as an encapsulation in a commercial market or you're using it as an agitation tool in your residential cleaning, makes your life simpler, makes you more effective, makes you more money. What else can you ask out of?
Gotta love how everybody tries to sell these things. But that method, that machine that you just saw, that's what we're going to use. It won't be exactly that brand new machine, but you guys are going to use one of those next weekend when we clean carpets. Really easy machine to use. I actually own one, so I'll be bringing my machine down, and we will do both the bonnet cleaning and this encapsulation method. The cool thing about this is that you notice all the agitation with the counter rotating brushes. In addition, it leaves the carpet with very little residue. What I mentioned about what was left behind is that clear polymer that when it's dry, we simply vacuum. You don't even see that polymer on the fiber. Okay, it's that microscopic, but it's there. So when we vacuum the carpet the next day for normal vacuuming, that polymer is going to come out, and as a result, the carpet doesn't have wicking issues. Now, I will say this is not meant for a deep cleaning on its own. You would not say, you know, I have a very filthy, nasty carpet, and I'm just going to encapsulate clean it. That's not a good method. But as you saw, he was mentioning about scrubbing the carpet first with this machine if you were going to extract and then extract. Great way to do it. So if you were extracting the carpet, fantastic. In our application, where we're at over at the adult ed offices there, this is a fantastic method because it doesn't put a lot of water or moisture down. In addition, so we don't have issues of the carpet curling. But the other value of it is that this method doesn't have the tendency to, if you're doing it often, it's removing a lot of sand and soil as well because of that agitation. It's doing what we call pile lifting, getting the ground in soil out of the carpet. And even if you use it just dry to go over the carpet and then vacuum it real well afterwards, you will find amazing results. And literally, can extend the life of the carpet by at least 30 to 40% with a good encapsulation and extraction system. Now, the last method I wanted to show you is a system that's been around for a little while, and it is a dry extraction or dry encapsulation system. It's not used nearly as much, but you may run into instances where this is a good application. A perfect application of this system or the encapsulation would be in an area that has super heavy traffic. For example, at an airport. Airports you have a very short window to clean the carpet, and you're typically having to turn it around within a few hours. So you want to use as low moisture or no moisture. So this last method will deal with that. It's manufactured by Host, but there's a couple other manufacturers that do similar. So let me just show you that method.
Cleans dirty carpet quickly and easily. I'm taping off an area to show the difference when I have finished cleaning. I'm starting with a clean machine and a clean and empty hopper.
Nothing under my sleeve.
And all the filters in the machine are also clean. The red and the black filters, as well as the white fine particle filter. There are two switches on the machine. One turns on the brushes, and one turns on the extractor vacuum. The Liberator has two counter-revolving 5-inch diameter brushes that lift and open up the matted carpet pile. The center vacuum shoe delivers 130 cubic feet of airflow per minute to extract the deep down, dry dirt from the carpet. You can use the Liberator in several ways, with the handle locked or unlocked and free swinging, whichever is easiest and most comfortable for you. After the evacing, let's see what's in the hopper. Remember, I started with a clean hopper. Note the fine, dry dirt that has been extracted. Checking the filters, we can see how dirty they have become during the extractor vacuuming procedure. The 6-stage filtration of the Liberator traps the fine dust and dirt so that it isn't released into the air. Now, I will apply the Host sponges. Typically, we use a baseball-sized handful for each square yard of dirty carpet. This carpet is really dirty, so I will use a bit more.
Kind of looks like sawdust, doesn't it?
Now I turn on the brushes so I can brush the Host sponges through the carpet. North-south, east-west, and north-south again. The more brushing, the better the results. Note that the Host sponges have absorbed the dirt from the carpet, taking on the color of the dirt as compared to the fresh Host sponges. Let's continue brushing, working the Host sponges in many directions to be sure to deep clean the area thoroughly. Finally, I extractor vacuum the dirty sponges to extract the dirt they have absorbed. The onboard crevice tool is great for detail vacuuming. Removing the tape, we can see the carpet is clean, dry, and ready to walk on. That is how you deep clean a dirty carpet, quick and easy. The carpet will stay cleaner longer than with any other methods, and spots won't.
So that was a good system that was developed a number of years ago, but there was a problem with it. And the problem was that it was very labor intensive and a lot of material had to be used. From a cleaning standpoint, though, the carpets came out very clean. Remember how we mentioned about the wicking issue with extraction, where we're forcing a lot of moisture down on the carpet? This resolves that issue. The sponge material, and it looks like almost sawdust, but it's a sponge or cellulose material that's treated with a cleaning solution or solvent. What that does is it's scrubbing, and all the soil is attracting to that sponge, so that when the vacuum is turned on, they're vacuuming all that out of it. So again, a very great system for turning around a carpet very quickly. When it's done, people are walking on it. No issues. The negative to it is it's expensive. There's a lot of material involved to make this. It is very environmentally friendly. They actually have a lot of green seal and other documentation about how environmentally friendly it is. It doesn't put dust into the air. But in comparison, encapsulation is what's really hurting this system. Encapsulation, even though it is spraying a wet solution, because it's such a fine amount of it, that has replaced it. And encapsulation uses the technology that Host developed with counter-rotating brushes to lift the pile. So it is getting a lot of dry dust and sand out of the carpet, but then the cost is so much less. So there's an understanding of there's a lot of different methods to clean carpet. Today, I wanted to give you the overview. We will focus our attention on extraction, bonnet, and encapsulation, and kind of go through those specific methods as we go through the carpet cleaning. You guys need to cover all the material, obviously, in getting familiar with it. But you'll notice this lesson, in comparison to the hard floor that we just did, it's much shorter. This is basically about 30 pages in comparison to over 60 or close to 60 on the hard floor. So it's a lot easier of a lesson to cover for you guys. What we will do, and let me share with you, share a couple more things on the Google channel here, or the Google Classroom. So I have put all those videos there. I also put some standards here for you. So one of which is from IICRC, and this just tells you a little bit about their training program. And then there's also some, let's see, this is their website, so you guys can feel free to check out their website. And then another one is the Carpet and Rug Institute. And these guys have developed a lot of standards for the cleaning industry, of carpet industry specifically. And what I like is that they have cleaning and maintenance standards. They explain the essentials of cleaning carpet. Vacuuming, spotting, deep cleaning, the good entrance matting. So some really good stuff. And they go through a lot of these different steps. So from that standpoint, it's just an additional resource for you guys to use as you are looking at it. We'll focus mainly on what the book says, but I love to make sure that you guys have resources to be able to know where I can find additional information. So what I would point you to as we wrap up this part of the lesson, and we then take some time to review stuff on the testing, is if you look on page 81 of your book, there is the different methods that we just talked about. So let's review with this. We had the first method, which was Rotary Shampoo cleaning. Who could tell me the potential advantage to that method?
It deep cleans, good for restoration of heavily soiled carpets.
Yep. And you guys saw that, right? You saw that really nasty carpet that they got cleaned up. But what's the disadvantage to it?
It takes longer to dry.
Yep.
Danger over wetting and potential for excess residue.
Yeah. So those are all serious issues because if we over wet it, we can leave an area smelling very foul, very nasty smelling. Thank you, Eduardo, for that. So, we see the value, but in a commercial setting, if we leave that carpet too wet or we leave too much residue, what's going to happen? What are some problems that'll happen with too much residue on a carpet?
Stickiness.
Stickiness. Yep, that's one of them. Right alongside stickiness, what will happen? How quickly will the carpet get dirty again?
It'll get dirty faster.
Absolutely.
Tracks dirt. Right.
Exactly. And you think about it, you leave all this soap in the carpet, what's it going to clean? Soap doesn't know the difference between carpet and your shoe, so it's going to clean your shoes off right onto that carpet. So now the carpet itself deteriorates. All right. The bonnet cleaning method that we talked about. What is the advantage of the bonnet cleaning method?
A quick process for appearance maintenance, blends cleaned into non-cleaned areas, short dry times.
Okay, that makes sense. We need to quickly get the carpet looking good. People are coming in for an event. It's a great way to get the carpet kind of spruced up a little bit. But then what's the disadvantage?
Resoiling may cure sooner. Inadequate pad absorption can leave excess residue.
Yep. So same thing, we're leaving residue behind. One good thing is we can offset some of the problems with bonnet cleaning by using some new chemical technology, using an encapsulating bonnet cleaner. So that is some things that have helped to make this a little bit more palatable. The other thing that's not listed here is that the carpet mills do not recommend bonnet cleaning because of the twist of the arm. Okay. Now, a method I did not show you, and frankly, I couldn't even find video content on it, and I'll just touch on this myself, is dry foam. Dry foam was developed in the 1980s, and it's basically similar to the shampoo method, but instead of using a lot of water, it uses some solvents, and it's great because it dries fairly quickly, works on a lot of stuff, but the problem is because it's a solvent and it attracts to the fiber, it can leave a lot of residue behind. And what we found with the dry foam systems is the idea behind it was similar to what you saw with the encapsulation, where it had a brush that was agitating, and you would see all this foam that would come out. They would vacuum that foam out after it dried. Okay, but because it didn't have that encapsulation and because it was more solvent based, it was leaving so much residue behind, the carpets got dirty very quickly. So, all right, what about the dry compound? We saw the video from Host. Share with me a little bit of the advantages and disadvantages of that one.
Short daytime carpet return to use quickly, affection on light, minimal soil level blend, cleaning into non-cleaning area.
The disadvantage, Nelson?
Not effective in heavy soil conditioner or tending to excess particle residue.
Yep. So what would happen is that sponge material, if not all of it gets vacuumed out, we would leave that behind, and that could, there's fear that it could create new soiling issues. It just looks dirty when you see that dry sponge material left all over. So a lot of people didn't like that as well. All right, the first method we saw was the extraction method. What's the advantage of that?
It sucks out all of the dirt.
Yep, does a great job of getting everything out. But what's the disadvantage, Sean?
Too wet. I can't remember the disadvantage, sorry.
Yep, and if it's too wet, then we could have longer dry times, right? Now, again, if it's done properly, extraction method is one of the most effective methods, especially when we have good equipment. And equipment's critical on everything. You use poor equipment, you're going to get poor results.
Yeah.
You use good equipment, you're going to get good results. And so, for example, a truck-mounted carpet cleaning machine with, good tools, good chemicals, you're going to have some really good results. The nice thing about our methods, and this is one of the things I love about carpet cleaning, we can combine methods. So, for example, you saw in the Rotary Shampoo method, they were shampooing the carpet and then he rinsed it with the wet extraction method using a rotary wet extractor. That works. You can use bonnet cleaning, okay, as a method after you've extracted a carpet to quickly dry the carpet and just even out if you have lines from the extractor. So I see a lot of guys take a dry carpet bonnet after they've extracted and run it over the carpet, especially on commercial carpet. You can take the machine and technology from the encapsulation machine and use that same machine to pre-scrub on an extraction method. Or we can use encapsulation chemicals with bonnet cleaning. So that's why I said within this method, you get a lot of variations. You have a lot of technologies, a lot of different things that guys will take this and they'll do this. It's just understanding to make sure we're using the right kind of product. Our goal in carpet cleaning is just two major goals. One, leave the least amount of residue possible and get the carpet as dry as possible, as quickly as possible. Those are my two goals when I do a restoration of carpets, is those two things. So low residue, fast dry times. If I can accomplish that, I'm doing a good job with carpet cleaning. And ultimately, the major goal, make sure the carpet's clean. So, okay. So for you guys, your work, I'm not going to assign a specific amount. You guys have over the next week, from here till next Wednesday, to read over this chapter. Get familiar with it. Start going through your review or for your testing on the carpet cleaning section. And then we will do as a class bonnet cleaning and low moisture encapsulation cleaning. We can't do extraction. I will try and get an extractor over there, but we can't use it. So it's just going to be, if I have one, I can show it. But reality is what we need to do is what we can do for that area. The other thing I want to say is as we go through our lessons, the next few lessons on this, we will dig deeper. We'll get more into that equipment, more into the chemicals behind it to understand it. So that's what our classes will cover on Friday and then again next Monday and Wednesday. So reminder before we move into discussing testing that next week on the 15th, so not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, we will be doing the carpet cleaning. The reality, guys, we will probably be done with that in about 3 hours. So that is not going to be nearly as long of a day. I would expect that we'll start at 9 and we should be done by around 12:30 on that Saturday. It's a fairly easy class. So, but it'll give you a lot of hands-on. The other thing is I'm working on bringing some stuff. I'm in the process. I've been trying to work with my manufacturer friends to bring some tools down either that date or on the 22nd as a show and tell of a lot of different equipment. I want you guys to have a chance to put your hands on some different things. And a good friend of mine works for a company called Nilfisk Advance. He has a lot of different equipment. So I wanted him to, he's looking at his schedule to see when he can do this, because all he gets out of it is just helping a buddy out. So maybe a case of beer, we'll see. So, all right. That being said, if anybody needs assistance going over questions on your ISSA test, that's what I'm here for now. So let's, you guys, if you've got questions, let me know.
Yeah, I do. Actually, question 60. I feel that question could be all of the above, so I'm not quite sure on that one.
Let me see here.
I don't have the book in front of me, sorry.
All right, so on that question, let me read the question to everybody. It says, if floor finish does not level on a strip floor, the most probable cause is, and the answers are either buffing, insufficient drying, insufficient rinsing, or incorrect floor finish applied. So, where can we look for the answer?
In the back of the book.
You are my hero, Eduardo. The back of the book.
I actually looked in the back of the book, and it gives, actually, I think, if I recall, all of those options.
Okay. Well, let's look at it and kind of look. We're talking about if it doesn't level, okay? So on that, the problem, coating does not level properly, is the first one, right? So let's go through the causes, and somebody help me with reading that. Eduardo, you got your book handy?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you read us the causes?
Hold on. Let me look at the. Oh man.
Oh my God.
It's page 123.
Yep. You want to read it for us, Maria?
Okay. It's a stripper residue present on the floor.
Okay.
Floor before applying the finish, dirty mop bucket or rinsing use, coating applied too heavily, inferior product when poor leveling properties.
Okay. Let's go back to our question. The 4 answers it gave us, the first answer was buffing. Is there any cause there that shows buffing as an issue?
No.
No, not buffing.
Okay. Now it says insufficient drying is the second answer. Okay.
No.
And is drying kind of listed as a cause?
No.
Okay. What about rinsing?
No.
No. I think it's D.
Rinsing.
Okay, I had a couple people say that. So let me hear what.
D.
Okay. B is insufficient drying. Is that what
I
you
got
put?
C.
D.
Okay.
I will go with D.
I got C.
All right. Well, let me tell you what I think. And let's see if this helps. So I know it's not buffing, so we're going to throw that one out. Drying isn't really an issue here as well, because we're talking about stripper residue, dirty floor, okay, dirty mop bucket, coating was too thick, right, applied too heavy, or the product itself was inferior, okay, inferior product with poor leveling properties.
That would.
Okay. None of that inferior product isn't listed in any there. Okay.
But
It does
it
say.
says
Okay, go ahead, Maria.
stripper residue present on the floor.
Okay. Look at the solution to that one.
Strip and rinse thoroughly.
Yeah. So that helps us. Rinsing is an issue here. Okay.
So I see.
So I would go with C. I will tell you, and Dawn, I have to agree with something you're saying. There are a couple things here because it says incorrect floor finish applied.
Yes.
And on the probable causes, it says inferior product with poor leveling properties. So I would also think that could possibly be it. But my first gut is insufficient rinsing because the residue on the floor.
Okay, that was kind of where I was going, but I just wasn't quite sure. So, okay.
And first of all, I will say this. I have a couple of these questions that I had that same feeling about that, man, I didn't like the way that was written. And it's that answer of incorrect floor finish applied. I don't like the way that's written because is it really incorrect? The book tells us if it was an inferior product, but maybe the product says it's listed as a floor finish. What makes it incorrect? Just because it's a bad quality? So that's one that's kind of
an issue. Some of these questions I kind of, oops, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of these questions I feel like just based on my experience from doing floors, for 15 years, I kind of feel, like, well, it could be any one of these or whatever. So.
Right. Yep. And I understand that. And that's why, in all honesty, I did the same thing. When I did this test, what I did is I quickly went through it, answered all the ones I knew first. Then I went back and then I put a question mark by the ones that I pretty much knew, but I thought it could have been a couple different answers. And I wanted to know, what does the book tell us? So that's why I went back to the book and looked at it from there. So my guess, based on, again, I don't have the answer key, if I had marked C, but in all honesty, it was one of the ones I put a question mark by, and when I did my review the last couple of days, made that mark that it was on page 123.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Isn't that the tricky part with this test and this book is that, although you guys have the experience, it's what the book wants, not so much your experience.
Yeah, and Mark, one of the biggest things in certification, and this is the case with, I've seen it in so many other trades. I have friends who are in the construction trades, and they look at it and go, okay, the book says this, and this is what I have to answer for the test. But in a practical standpoint, that's not practical. For example, our testing throughout it on this particular test, we talked about the coverage rate being 83.33 feet for diluted stripper. I've been doing this for a long time, and we always used 100 square feet as our average. Always. Another one that came up on the basic test is the term Instalock and retainer ring. I have buddies who work for a company that they service equipment, and when I told them that, they just looked at me going, "What are you talking about? What's an Instalock?" So it's what they want. So, okay. Any other questions?
Uh, 69. I wasn't sure on 69.
Okay, I'm on. All right. That one says the ability of an applied floor finish to allow an undistorted view of the floor surface below is called. So this is the one that came up the other day in class, and we were looking for the answer because I was looking. And I could not find it in the actual chapter. So one of the things I did is I went to the glossary. So if you look at page 55, and by the way, if a term doesn't make sense on the test, go to the glossary and see if it does. So I looked up all four of those words, and the only one that came up was film clarity. Read the definition of film clarity on page 55.
55. No, 55. Clarity, film clarity.
It's down at the bottom.
Yeah, ability to view.
Is there a 55 on the film clarity?
Yeah, ability to view without destruction the floor surface beneath a finish.
That answer your question?
So the answer would be film clarity.
Yeah.
All right.
The one that, and again, it's trying to throw you off. Number D, window look. Our book never talked about window look. It talked about a wet look, not a window look. So, yeah, it was film clarity is the one I chose.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Also on number 35, I have a question. It has two of the same answers, A and D. It's the same thing.
Yes, they are. That's a poor test writer. So I bet you could throw that out. Here's the key to the answer, Eduardo, is look at the first word of the question.
Cement?
Cementitious, okay? Which means it is having to do with cement. The cementitious terrazzo floors are made of what?
Marble and Portland cement?
Yeah. Yep. So if it was a resin terrazzo, then it would be a epoxy resin or plastics and cement, and marble chips. So cement and plastic is not used in any of the terrazzos, and neither is cement and coloring.
Okay.
That's page 7, Eduardo, at the top, first paragraph.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any others?
Why don't we just go all through all the questions together?
Well, I'll tell you what. As a teacher, I'm not going to go through every one of them with you guys because I will say that's part of your guys' responsibility. However, if you guys help each other, I don't have an issue with it. This is a little bit more of a challenging test. It's open book. The idea is that you understand the answer and why it's the answer. Okay? There are a few ones that, as Mark and I were talking about before class, that are designed to trip you up. So from that standpoint, be careful of questions that are designed specifically to trip you up. But, understanding the different types of terrazzo or a lot of the math questions. So to that extent, let me share with you guys something that I put into the Google Classroom. Hang on one second. In the classroom, I posted that same formulas, but I wrote it out a little bit clearer. So let me share with you that real quick. All right, so if you're looking at the classroom and you look and under hard floor care coverage rates, you'll see I put the two formulas for you. If total square footage is known, here's how to figure it. If the gallons of concentrated chemicals are known, here's how to figure it. So for example, on question number 37, you would use this formula. Because question 37 tells you the gallons of concentrated floor finish. So now I know the gallons of chemical, and it gives me a lot of the information I need. I could just plug that information right into that formula. And you'll notice there are 2 steps to both of those formulas. Okay? So that reference is in, even though it's also in your book, I felt like the book could have defined it a little bit better in the form of do step 1, then step 2. So that's why I wanted to put that in there for you guys. All right. And let's see. We didn't touch a lot on cork floors because we focused on wood floors. But if you guys noticed, when the questions ask you about maintenance,
it wasn't me. No, that wasn't me. Not me.
Found the answer on that.
No, not me. Okay, that was me.
A, page 53.
Wood floors. The maintenance, a couple of things that you don't want to do that's also listed in that that information. So good. And then the other one that was a challenging one, did anybody have a challenge finding the answer on number 64?
Soap scum.
C.
C.
Yep.
On
You
page,
found that on page 130?
yeah, 130.
Yeah. So a big part of this is you guys, you know, the information isn't always just in the chapter. You also have the glossary, and in this case, it's in the appendix, the back of the book, that extra tools that helped explain troubleshooting. So use that information to help yourselves out as you're doing this. Okay. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up today. I will go ahead and stop our recording.
Recording stopped.
I'll post this information into the Google Classroom. It typically takes a couple hours for the thing to process. So I'll try and get that done before I leave the school here today and post it in the Google Classroom for you guys. Your homework assignment, read the chapter, start going over your module review after you've gone through that. And then we'll go through, on our next lesson, we'll go through the equipment in the business. Then we'll go through the chemicals. And then lastly, we'll go through the process next week on some of those major methods, especially on extraction, bonnet cleaning, and encapsulation. And then from there, we'll move into our next one. On Friday, if you guys have completed your testing, I will not be doing review of on the carpet cleaning testing. I don't think we're ready for me to do that. So on Friday, one of the things I want to do is we'll go back into our breakout rooms a little bit for you guys. Also, you should have wrapped up your hard floor section of your building. So do you have that all together? On Friday, I will spend part of the class making sure you guys have that you're comfortable with, that you have your process of how am I going to maintain this. And that maintenance, as I mentioned, is the daily maintenance and then also the restoration, whatever restoration you were doing on your building. Okay? That being it, I will wrap up today's class and I will see you all Friday morning, bright and early.
I have a quick question, Dave.
Ooh, no quick questions. You were you missed the deadline. No, go ahead, Christina.
I'm not going to be able to attend on the 24th because my son has graduation. They finally set a date and a time.
Okay.
With my attendance, or do I got to talk to Teresa about that?
Which date?
The 24th.
Okay, and that is the Monday class?
Yeah.
Okay, so policy is and by the way, I was able to get this adjusted. You have to be able to attend 90% of the classes. So your guys' attendance has been remarkable. You basically can afford to miss one class.
Mhm.
However, Christina, if you will review the video for that day, and actually, let me say this, that day is a group session that is covering about your stuff. So as long as you are working with your group and you've contributed your portion, then go ahead and, I'll excuse you for that day. But contribute, make sure they have everything they need from you,
Mhm.
because the plan is, and as we're getting to our final few weeks here, our plan is for that final week that we should have all finished. You guys, everybody should have been done with their testing. And that week of the 24th, on Monday, I want to see the work put together where we are pretty much done with your final project, where you guys are getting that wrapped up and finished up that Monday, so that on the 26th, we'll go through it together without any visitors. And then on the 28th will be our last day of class. So the 24th and 26th are more just review, getting our final projects done, and then on the 28th will be our graduation day.
right.
Speaking of graduation day, we have a smaller class. I would like to have graduation at Elk Grove Adult Ed. Is everybody okay with doing that?
I am. You mean at Golden One?
At Golden One. Yeah, 9 of us are going to go over to Golden One for our graduation. We'll just get the Kings to give us your certificates. All right. So Nelson, you can. Mark,
Yeah.
you're good.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So on the 28th, our graduation day, our last day of class, I would like to do that as an in-person thing there at Adult Ed on Gerber.
I'm okay with it, but I do have class at 11 o'clock. I have another class to go to.
We will get you out of there by about 10:30.
Okay, yeah, that should work.
Okay. All right. So I've gotten Steven. I have Chris, or
Yeah,
Steven,
I'm
Mark, Nelson. Christina, how about you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Don said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said the 28th?
28.
Okay. I just realized something else. My husband's actually having surgery that day. So, I don't think I'd be able to.
Okay. Can you tie in for video?
Yeah, I can, because I'll be in the car waiting for him to get his surgery done. They don't allow us to go in.
Okay.
But yeah, I can tie in the video, but I can't. But Dawn could pick it up for me.
Not a problem, and we'll tie you in with video.
Okay.
Maria,
Yeah.
can you do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. How about Tony? You good?
I don't know. It's a stretch from Antioch. I mean, I'd like to be there,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm staying in SAC for your back-to-back 15 and 22nd.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of a stretch.
Tie in with video, and we'll
Right
get
on.
you.
Right on.
And then anybody, I think we have Tyler. What about you?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Let me know. I will do a video feed. I'll set up the camera and we'll do a video feed. But I'd like to do an in-person thing. And then what we'll do for the final presentations, we'll be working on that together. So that is part of what we're doing on the 26th is we are getting this all put together so that you guys have a nice presentation, and we could share that with our group, but we'll have all the details. I'll be working with you guys closely over the next couple weeks to make sure that all comes together very nicely. Okay? All right, guys, that's it. I've got my next stuff to get to on classes, so thank you guys for a good class, and I'll see you on Friday.
Have a good one.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
I farted.